Hi and welcome to Online Appliance Tech. Today we're working on a French door KitchenAid refrigerator that's not cooling. So on these French door refrigerators, the thing that controls the compressor is called an inverter. And that's what takes the wear and tear before it destroys the compressor. So more than likely it's your inverter. So first thing you want to do is remove all the quarter bit screws in the back of the unit. It's also a good idea to keep this vent clean here. This way the refrigerator can work more properly. Okay, so right here we have the compressor and here's the inverter. So how this works, the inverter gets 120 volts and this little wire here gets DC voltage, which is activated by the main control board. So once you get the 4 to 6 DC volts and the 120 volts, from the main control board, it turns on the compressor. So clip this zip tie so you can pull this harness out, which you will have to disconnect. So right now we're going to test for power. This is 120 and this is 4 to 6 DC volts, which comes from the main board. So if you do have a multimeter, you'll set it on DC or AC. DC to check the small voltage and AC to check the high voltage. Mine is automatic, so I don't have to switch back and forth. So we'll put my multimeter to DC voltage and check here. And right here I should get 4 to 6 DC voltage, which comes from the main board to activate the inverter. So right now I have it unplugged. And once I plug it in, I should receive my 4 to 6 DC voltage. If I do not receive my 4 to 6 DC voltage, that means I do have a bad main control board. In this case, I receive it, 4.1. So great. That will activate the inverter, which activates the compressor. So then if I have a multimeter, I have to switch it to AC voltage. And I'll check here, and I should have 120 volts, 124. So that tells me my inverter is getting correct power, which should activate my compressor. And if you want to fill your compressor, make sure you unplug it. If your compressor is like cold, that definitely means that nothing's happening. So now let's disconnect the inverter. Disconnect the two harnesses. And you have one quarter bit screw that connects the harness to the compressor that you do have to remove. So you can take a hand Phillips or a drill Phillips bit and just remove it with a tool like that. And just put it somewhere out of the way. And this is a cover that covers the wire and harness, I would say, that connects to the pins of the compressor. So you have to use like a flathead to pry that off. So this is a little difficult to get out, so just take your time and you should be fine. So what I like to do is just disconnect all the ground wires, all the like the plug wire and so forth. This way I can move around without having everything in my path. And as you'll see at the end of the video or near the end, I will remove this little wheel cover. I recommend removing that as of now, just to give you more space, which I didn't do and I should have. So here you'll take a quarter bit ratchet and you have a quarter bit screw that holds this inverter into the housing of the refrigerator. So this is probably the most difficult part, I would say, because sometimes these screws are real tight into the plastic, as you'll see, and you have to really have something like a thin 1/4 to really get it out. So once you remove, this is what you should have done before you even tried to remove that screw. Just give that extra space, but that's okay. Let's put it somewhere out of the way. Okay, so when you slide this inverter out, sometimes it's tight. The copper, I would say, low side line kind of sticks out, and it's hard to pull this out. One thing you do not want to do is bend that copper line that connects to the compressor too far down, because you could bust the line and lose all your freon, and then you're pretty much turned a small job into a big job. So just take your time and wiggle, and you should eventually get it out. Okay, so now since we have it out, we're going to disconnect the harness to the compressor and the ground wire. So this is the inverter. Sometimes it looks kind of brown. In this case, this one looks fine, but it is a problem because we checked the voltage. And 99% of the time, this is your problem when your compressor does not start. So just pry off the ground wire and your harness that connects to the compressor. I recommend a flathead. And sorry for the bad angle, it's kind of a tight little spot. Okay, so this is the inverter. I will leave this in the description below if you would like to purchase. And it's with these wires and so forth, just try to tuck them up out of the way, that way you can connect. So now we're going to connect, or not connect, but test the compressor. So scrape this out of the compressor where you can get through the paint, and we're going to check each pin to make sure this compressor is not grounded. If it's a grounded compressor, basically you have to replace the compressor, which is very odd for these to go out. So just in case though, so you'll put one prong on each prong and hold the red prong to the compressor where you scrape the paint. It should be open line on each prong. But if it reads this when you touch, that means it's a bad compressor. That basically means the winding inside the compressor is touching the wall of the compressor, so it's shorted. And another test is to test one prong to each other. They should read about the same, 6.6 each. In these variable speed compressors, that's how you test them. So if you have 3 prongs, if you hit each one, they should read the same number. So like I said, here's the inverter. This is the OEM part. So basically you're just going to connect it the same way you removed the other one. There's a screw that you screw in right there on the left. Okay, so you're going to just basically try to pull all the wires out of the way and just slide it in. And as we know, some of these suction lines or compressor copper lines are in the way. So just kind of take your time and be patient and work it in there. Usually they're not this bad, but this one was a little bit of a pain. Okay, so once you get in there, you're gonna basically press this inverter box all the way to the back wall and kind of slide it towards your right. This way you can get to the harness easy enough to connect to the compressor. So you have the 3 holes, and it has to be exact with the compressor prongs. So make sure you connect the 3 holes on the harness to the exact 3 holes on the compressor. Or prongs, I would say. Just make sure everything's nice and flush, and it's also good to have some type of a good flashlight to make sure you can see what's going on. It's a little dark sometimes. So reconnect your ground wire to the compressor, and then this cover, you have to clip it in from the bottom first and press up. But the wire that connects to the inverter comes out the side of it, as you can see. I definitely wish Whirlpool would give you a little bit more space though to work with. There we go. So kind of slide it up underneath like I just did. You can see it came way easier, and then press it towards the compressor. So then you're going to get your Phillips screw and the little cover that goes on top of this cover to connect it correctly to the compressor. Okay, so while you're pressing it against the compressor, you're just going to screw in the Phillips screw, and it should tighten this to the compressor, the cover to the compressor. Okay, so since we got everything in on the side connected to the compressor, we're going to slide the inverter back to this side of the housing of the fridge, and then it has a clip, or the inverter I would say has a overlap that connects into the back of the refrigerator. So it basically slides back into place, so the kind of forward and back. And you'll just line up that left hole to the housing of the fridge and reinstall that screw. So I'm going to reconnect my DC wire, and then I'm going to reconnect my AC harness or wire. As soon as I can find it. Here we go. Okay, great. So I'm going to reconnect my ground wires. And also I'm going to reconnect my wheel cover. A lot of times when the inverter goes out, it's due to dirty condenser coils or your condenser fan has stopped running. So when you turn this unit on, do make sure that your condenser fan motor is working also. Because if the unit overheats, that's what destroys the inverter. So let's plug it in and see what happens. So So great, it looks like we're in business. Everything is turning on now. The compressor is vibrating, and that's what it should do from the get-go. So if you do have a fridge that's not cooling and the compressor is not humming or nothing, 99% of the time it is the inverter. Well, I hope this video was helpful, save you some time and money. Please like and subscribe for more future tips and videos. Thank you.